Europe is renowned for producing magnificent porcelain figurines, even though it was the Chinese who first invented the art. In 1718, the first European factories began making ornate porcelain objects, which quickly became a status symbol among the nobility. This Viennese palace is home to Europe's second oldest manufacturer of handmade porcelain. Following photos of a subject, a modeler sculpts a three-dimensional figure out of clay. Not only must he include all the intricate details, he also has to make the model 14% larger than the final size, because porcelain shrinks during the firing process. He uses the model to cast a master mold out of plaster. From the master mold, he casts a plastic mold. And from that, plaster production molds with which to cast the figurines. In its raw form, porcelain is a paste which contains water, the minerals feldspar and quartz, and white kaolin, a type of clay. They water down the paste into a liquid called slip, then pour it into the plaster production molds. The plaster immediately begins drawing out the water, causing a firm layer of slip to form against the mold cavity. They pour out the remaining liquid. When the slip layer is finally thick enough, they open the mold and carefully extract what is by now a figurine with fine details. More complex figurines are cast in parts, each in its own mold. The modeler carefully touches up each casting, scraping off seams and fine-tuning the details. Then he assembles the parts, using a slip to stick them together. It's critical to keep the figurine hydrated, because if it dries out even slightly, it will crack during firing. The figurine goes through two main firings. The first time at over 1700 degrees, hot enough to harden the porcelain, but also keep the surface porous so the glaze will adhere. They inspect and dust the fired figurine, then stamp it with a coat of arms in cobalt blue enamel, the mark that has identified this brand of Austrian porcelain since 1744. Then they dip the figurine in glaze, a mixture of water and several materials, including quartz, feldspar, kaolin, and ground-up porcelain. Then into the kiln again, this time at over 2500 degrees. This bakes the glaze to a glassy finish and further hardens the porcelain. The figurine exits this firing about 14% smaller, as the remaining moisture has evaporated. Once it cools, they begin decorating the figurine. Using a variety of fine-tip pens and brushes, an artist paints enamel onto the glazed surface. Between paint applications, depending on the number of colors and intricacy of color blending, the figurine undergoes as many as 6 minor firings at 1500 degrees. This melts a vitreous ingredient in the enamel, fusing it with the glaze. The end result is rich, permanent color that never fades. Despite its delicate appearance, porcelain is nearly as strong as steel when under compression. But it's not nearly as resistant to impacts, so when handling these magnificent works of ceramic art, a good grip is highly recommended.